Do you believe in miracles? It's a question that might sound childish, but be honest with yourself for a moment. Deep down, haven't we all wished for something miraculous to happen? For an extraordinary event to change our lives? Today, we're not going to talk about fairy tales. We're going to talk about real human beings who walked this earth. Do you believe in the Buddha or Jesus Christ? Now wait, I'm not asking if you follow a specific religion. I want to ask a more direct question. Do you believe in the individuals themselves? Do you believe that such extraordinary people, capable of doing things we deem impossible, once existed? I am not here to declare that the Buddha or Jesus were gods, but with all my respect, I believe they are two of the greatest enlightened masters humanity has ever known. And one of the most astonishing things they had in common is that they both demonstrated supernatural abilities during their time on earth. Jesus walked on water, multiplied loaves to feed thousands, healed the sick, and even raised the dead. The Buddha could see into the past, read the minds of others, and levitate through space. These stories are not simply legends, but truths being unveiled through the lens of modern science. The question isn't, are they real? The real question is, if they are real, then how? What enabled them to transcend the ordinary laws of physics? Was it a power bestowed upon them by an external force? Or was it the result of a profound understanding of the nature of reality? A truth that we all have the potential to access but have somehow forgotten. In this video, we will embark on an intellectual adventure together. We will explore the evident truth behind these miracles and supernormal powers, not through the lens of faith, but through the perspective of modern science. We will learn about the connecting power of energy, of consciousness, and above all, the master key that both of these great teachers emphasized, the power of pure faith. Join me as we pull back the curtain on the mystery, to a place where science and spirituality no longer conflict, but join hands to dance a beautiful cosmic dance. The previous 6 videos in this series provided a general overview, a foundation to begin our journey of exploring the connection between esoteric science and modern science, making it easier for us to grasp the content of the following videos with greater clarity. Let's begin our journey with Jesus. When we look at the miracles attributed to him in the New Testament, we see more than just supernatural acts. Each miracle is a sign, a profound message of love, compassion, and the power of what he called God. Imagine you're at a wedding in Cana, where the wine has run out. An awkward situation, an incomplete joy. And then, with just a word, Jesus turns jars of plain water into the finest wine. This isn't just a display of power. It's a symbol of transformation, turning the ordinary into the extraordinary, turning lack into abundance. Or when his disciples were panicking in a violent storm on the Sea of Galilee, he calmly walked on the water and silenced the wind and waves. This isn't just about controlling nature. It's a lesson in the stability of the mind. In the storms of our lives, when our minds are still, all the external tempests must submit. And perhaps the most moving are the miracles of healing. A woman who had been suffering from a hemorrhage for 12 years, who had spent all her money on doctors to no avail, approached him with the powerful belief that, if I only touch his cloak, I will be healed. She pushed through the crowd and did just that. Instantly she felt the source of her suffering dry up. Jesus, amidst the thousands of people jostling him, felt a unique energy flow out from him. He turned and asked, "Who touched my clothes?" When the trembling woman confessed, he didn't say, "My power has healed you." He said a phrase that would become the foundation for all healing. "Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace." He said the same to the blind man in Jericho. "Your faith has healed you." He didn't see himself as the bestower of miracles, but as the one who awakened and activated the power that already existed within those people. Their faith was the bridge, the switch that turned on the healing energy from the universe. Even the greatest miracle, raising his friend Lazarus from the tomb after 4 days, was performed with a prayer of absolute conviction. All these acts were not for show. They were to demonstrate a greater truth, that human beings are not weak and alone. We are connected to an infinite source of life, healing, and love. And faith is that very connecting thread. Now let's shift our timeline, traveling back about 500 years before the time of Christ to the east, to Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha. Just like Jesus, Buddhist scriptures record that he possessed extraordinary abilities, known as the 6 supernormal powers, or abhijanas, which were attained through deep meditation. However, the Buddha's approach to these powers had a very different flavor. If Jesus' miracles were signs to prove a divine power from without, the Buddha's powers were the inevitable result of a journey to explore and master the world from within. Think about the divine eye, the ability to see all things without the limitation of space, from the most subtle realms to the most distant galaxies. Or the divine ear, the ability to hear all sounds, from the whisper of a suffering being to the symphony of the cosmos. Mind-penetrating knowledge allowed him to know the thoughts of others, enabling him to offer the most fitting guidance. Recollection of past lives allowed him to remember countless former existences of himself and others, seeing clearly the intricate web of cause and effect at play. The power of manifestation allowed him to move freely, to transform, and to be in many places at once. And finally, the ultimate power, the extinction of all defilements, the ability to completely eradicate all afflictions like greed, hatred, and delusion, ending the cycle of birth and death to attain the absolute peace of nirvana. This was the ultimate goal. Note, terms like the cycle of birth and death or nirvana may not mean what we commonly assume, and we will explore them more deeply in other videos. But what's fascinating is that the Buddha rarely used these powers, and he often discouraged his disciples from pursuing them. He understood that while displaying such abilities could inspire awe and admiration, it could easily become a trap if the user's mind becomes passive, no longer pure, causing people to cling to external phenomena instead of embarking on the path of inner transformation. It's like being so mesmerized by the finger pointing at the moon that you forget to look at the moon itself. For him, the greatest miracle, the most sublime power, was the miracle of instruction, the ability to use the teachings, the Dharma, to transform a person from suffering to peace, from ignorance to enlightenment, to tame a brutal murderer like Angulimala and guide him to become a gentle, enlightened saint. That was the true miracle. Nevertheless, in a few special cases, he did use his powers to open people's minds, such as the twin miracle at Sravasti, where he simultaneously emitted fire and water from his body, but the ultimate purpose was always to teach. Supernormal powers were not the ultimate end goal that the Buddha wanted people to pursue. They were merely a byproduct, a natural consequence of mastering the mind. So here we have 2 great masters, from 2 different cultures, with 2 different approaches, but when we listen closely to their core teachings, we discover an astonishing intersection. Both affirmed that faith is the catalyst for all transformation. Listen again to the words of Jesus, spoken not just once but many times. If you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, "Move from here to there," and it will move. Nothing will be impossible for you. Matthew 17:20. He didn't say, "If I will it," he said, "If you have faith." He placed the power directly in the hands of the believer. Even the smallest seed of belief, if it is pure and without a trace of doubt, can grow into a force that moves physical reality. On the other side of the world, the Buddha also taught about faith, or sada in the Pali language. He placed faith, sada, first among the 5 essential qualities for achieving happiness, alongside morality, learning, generosity, and wisdom. In the scriptures, he taught of the 5 powers for attaining enlightenment, and the very first is the power of faith. This faith is the initial motivation, the energy that pushes a practitioner past all doubt and discouragement on the long path. But the faith the Buddha spoke of was not blind faith. He emphasized, it is not enough to just believe. One must see and understand. A person who does not see cannot have true faith. It is a faith accompanied by wisdom, a right conviction built upon reflection, practice, and personal verification. Though expressed differently, both masters pointed to the same thing: a steadfast inner state, an absolute conviction, without a single cloud of doubt. And this is where the big question arises for each of us. Do most of us believe the teachings of the Buddha and of Christ? We hear these teachings, we nod in admiration, but then what? Why are our lives still filled with suffering, illness, and limitation? Does this point to a harsh truth, that most of us do not possess that absolute faith? Many argue that people in ancient times believed more easily because science had not yet developed. Could it be that the rise of science, with its logic and material evidence, has inadvertently become an obstacle, distancing humanity from the teachings of the enlightened masters? Is that the truth? Or is it the opposite? Could it be that the incredible advancements of modern science are, in fact, lifting the veil, bringing us closer to faith in what the Buddha and Jesus taught, through astonishing real-world experiments? The truth shows that science is not the enemy of faith, but its companion, a translator of ancient languages into the language of the 21st century. To begin this scientific journey, we must travel to the very foundation of physical reality, to a strange and beautiful world, the world of quantum physics. One of the most famous and shocking experiments is the double-slit experiment. When scientists fired electrons at a barrier with 2 slits in it, something bizarre happened. When no one was observing, the electrons behaved like waves, passing through both slits simultaneously and creating an interference pattern on the screen behind. But the moment they placed a detector to observe which slit the electron went through, their behavior instantly changed. They stopped acting like waves and behaved like distinct particles, passing through only one slit or the other. The discovery from this experiment is truly extraordinary, and it tells us this: the act of observation by human consciousness changed the behavior of matter. This means our consciousness has the ability to influence and create reality. Consciousness is a participant, a director with the ability to influence the very script of reality. Max Planck, the father of quantum theory, made a revolutionary statement: I regard consciousness as fundamental. I regard matter as derivative from consciousness. This statement confirms that our consciousness is the root, the foundation that creates our present reality. This means that the universe, at its most fundamental level, is not a collection of things. It is an infinite field of energy, an ocean of potential. And our consciousness, through the act of focus, observation, and especially belief, is what causes one possibility out of countless others to collapse into the reality we experience. When Jesus said, "Believe and you shall receive," perhaps he wasn't speaking of a miracle based on supplication. Perhaps he was describing a fundamental law of the universe. Absolute, unwavering faith is the most powerful act. When it absolutely believes in the reality of being healed, then being healed becomes reality. Quantum science is not disproving miracles. It is beginning to explain the mechanics of how they work. If the universe is an ocean of energy and consciousness can influence it, then the next question is, what are we as humans made of? The answer from both modern science and ancient wisdom is surprisingly consistent. We are also energy. Albert Einstein's immortal equation, E=mc2, showed us that matter and energy are just 2 sides of the same coin. Every object with mass, from a grain of sand to a star, is a form of immensely concentrated energy. The table you see, the body you're in, all look solid, but if you zoomed into the atomic level, they are mostly empty space, with particles of energy vibrating at different frequencies. Scientists like James Clerk Maxwell and Michael Faraday laid the groundwork for our understanding of electromagnetic fields, and today, biology and neuroscience are proving that the human body is not just a chemical machine, but also a complex electromagnetic system. Your heart generates an electromagnetic field that can be measured several feet away from your body. Your brain, with its billions of neurons, is a constant transmitter of electrical waves. Every thought, every emotion you have is an energy impulse, a specific vibrational frequency. This is where the bridge between science and spirituality becomes rock solid. Eastern traditions like Buddhism, Taoism, and Hinduism have spoken of this for thousands of years through concepts like qi, prana, or life force energy. They taught that the flow of this energy in the body determines our physical and mental health. When the flow is blocked by negative emotions like fear, anger, or doubt, disease arises. When the flow is clear and harmonious due to states like love, peace, and faith, the body heals itself. Now, let's connect the dots. If every thought you have is an energy vibration and you consistently broadcast a thought with absolute conviction, I am healed, I am at peace, I am abundant, what are you doing? You are creating a consistent and powerful vibrational frequency. This frequency not only affects your own energy field, recalibrating the cells and biological systems in your body, but it also resonates with the vast quantum energy field of the universe. Faith, from this perspective, is not an abstract concept. It is a physical state. It is the act of tuning the vibrational frequency of your being to match the frequency of the reality you wish to create. When the woman touched Jesus' cloak, her intense faith created an instantaneous energy resonance. When a meditator reaches deep concentration, the stillness of their mind creates a harmonious energy field so powerful, it can affect the environment around them. The human energy field is no longer a mystical concept. It is a measurable and applicable reality, and faith is the conductor's baton, directing the energy symphony of your own life. We've journeyed from quantum physics to neurobiology, and have seen the intimate link between our outer reality and our inner world. But there's one more piece to the puzzle, a bridge between personal experience and the shared heritage of humanity. That piece comes from one of the greatest thinkers of the 20th century, a man who bravely explored the territory where psychology and spirituality meet. Carl Jung, a student of Freud, soon realized that the human psyche was not limited to the personal conscious and personal unconscious mind, which holds our repressed memories. He proposed a much deeper, vaster layer, which he called the collective unconscious. Imagine the collective unconscious as the spiritual internet of all humanity. It doesn't contain your personal memories, but is the shared reservoir of experiences, symbols, and archetypes that have been accumulated over millions of years of human evolution. Figures like the Great Mother, the hero, the wise old man, and of course the savior or the enlightened one. They are not just characters and stories. They are real psychic energy structures that exist in the collective unconscious and have a profound influence on all of us. This means that we, or a grain of sand, are all miniature universes, containing all the archetypal properties of the cosmos. When we hear the story of Jesus healing the sick or the Buddha attaining enlightenment, something inside us resonates. It's not just emotion or empathy. It is the resonance with the archetypes that already exist within us. So what is the role of faith here? Faith, from a Jungian perspective, is the key that unlocks the door to this treasure trove of the collective unconscious. When a person has absolute faith in Christ, they are not just believing in a historical figure. They are connecting to the entire energy of the Savior archetype, an energy of healing, redemption, and transformation that has been built up by billions of people over thousands of years. When a person has faith in the Buddha's path, they are connecting to the enlightened one archetype, awakening the infinite potential for wisdom and compassion that already exists within them. A miracle, therefore, can be understood as an event where energy from the collective unconscious is downloaded by an individual and manifested into the physical world through an incredibly pure and powerful channel. That channel is faith, a faith unhindered by the personal ego, by doubts and fears. It is a complete surrender to become an instrument for a greater power to express itself. Carl Jung showed us that the great spiritual stories are not just once-upon-a-time tales. They are living maps of our inner world. They describe real psychic forces with which we can interact. And faith is not superstition, but a profound psychological act. The act of connecting our small, personal consciousness with the infinite wisdom of the collective. When this connection is strong enough, what we call miracles are not just possible, but inevitable. We have traveled a long way, from the miracles recorded in ancient scriptures to the subatomic world of quantum physics, through the biological energy field of the human body, and diving deep into the collective unconscious of Carl Jung. It is now time to assemble all these pieces to see the complete picture, a unified truth where science and spirituality are no longer parallel lines but merge into one. What does this picture show us? First, the universe is not a dead space filled with separate objects. It is a unified field, a living, intelligent, and interconnected network of energy. Everything from a distant star to a thought in your mind is a part of this network. This is what quantum physics is demonstrating, and it is what Eastern sages have been saying for millennia. All things are one. Second, we are not creatures separate from this universe, thrown into life by chance. We are focal points of consciousness within this universal energy field. Our physical bodies are vibrating energy fields, and our consciousness, our thoughts, emotions, beliefs, has the ability to tune the frequency of that energy field. This is where neuroscience and the wisdom of QI or prana meet. Third, faith is not about believing in something that isn't real. Faith is a state of consciousness. It is the act of focusing the energy of your consciousness absolutely, without a shred of doubt, on a single possibility within the quantum field of all possibilities. It is the act of tuning the vibrational frequency of your being to resonate with the reality you want to create. It is the act of opening a channel to connect with the power of the archetypes in the collective unconscious. When the Buddha and Jesus performed miracles, they were not violating the laws of the universe. On the contrary, they were operating them at the highest level of mastery. They had reached a state of complete union with the universal energy field. Their will and the will of the universe were one. Therefore, when they willed water to become wine or a storm to cease, it was not a command imposed upon nature, but a harmonious rearrangement of nature's energy from within. The difference between us and them is not one of nature, but of awareness and the purity of faith. Our minds are constantly scattered by thousands of conflicting thoughts. We want to be healed, but a part of us doubts it's possible. We want peace, but we constantly worry about the future. We are like someone trying to tune a radio, but our hand is constantly turning the dial, creating endless static. Absolute faith is the act of holding the dial steady on a single frequency. It is the power of a unified mind, and modern science, from its most complex equations to the most sophisticated brain scans, is slowly reconfirming this ancient truth. Your reality is shaped by where you place your faith. So, what can we, people of the 21st century, with all our worries and a mind accustomed to doubt, do to touch this great power? Must we abandon all logic for blind belief? Absolutely not. The path is not to deny science, but to go through it to arrive at a deeper understanding. The journey of building faith doesn't start with trying to move a mountain. It starts with tiny mustard seeds, planted in the garden of your own mind every single day. It begins by identifying and questioning the limiting beliefs that hold you captive. Thoughts like, I can't, I'm not worthy, that's impossible. Are they truly true, or are they just programs that were installed in your mind long ago? It continues with the practice of mindfulness or meditation, taking a few minutes each day to be still, to observe your thoughts without being carried away by them. This is how you clear the static in your mind, creating a quiet space where faith can sprout. When the mind is still, you begin to feel a deeper connection to your being and to the life around you. It is nurtured by gratitude. Instead of focusing on what you lack, turn your attention to what you have. Gratitude is one of the highest vibrational frequencies. It instantly changes your energy, helping you to realize that the universe is inherently abundant and generous. And most importantly, start practicing faith in small things. Believe that you will find a parking spot. Believe that your headache will pass. Believe that you will have a pleasant conversation with a loved one. When you witness these small beliefs become reality, you are building a faith muscle. Gradually, you will have the strength to believe in bigger things. Faith is not a gift that is bestowed. It is a skill that is practiced. It is the conscious choice to focus on the light instead of the darkness, on possibility instead of limitation. Enlightened masters like the Buddha and Jesus were not exceptions to the laws of nature. They were living demonstrations of the ultimate human potential. They showed us the way, and modern science is now redrawing that map in the language of today. This is episode 7 of our 111 video series on the energy of the universe, where science and spirituality meet to help you better understand yourself and the evolution of consciousness. Be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next videos. This journey is not easy, but it is the most worthwhile journey you can ever begin. Now, I want to ask you a question. What is the biggest limiting belief you are ready to release, starting today, to begin creating miracles in your own life?